You sure are an exciting specimen. I can't wait to have fun with you before delivering you to the prince. Ooh, and who are you? Do you really think you could take me on, little man?
Здравейте, драги зрители! Today we'll be compensating for last video's heresy and attempt to get back into the God Emperor's good graces. And we'll do so by talking about one of the most detestable heretics still kicking around in the galaxy at the onset of the 41st millennium. Lucius, 13th captain of the Emperor's Children Legion and one of the most treasonous scum across all of the traitor legions. Yes, even when counting the Night Lords. Originally he was among the Marines sent to the surface of Istvan III to perish, but returned to Fulgrim's good graces in a most foul manner. During the siege that followed the virus bombing of the traitor legions' loyalist elements, he would betray all of the surviving brothers, killing key defenders and tricking others to falsely attack fellow loyalists, thus opening a breakthrough into their defenses for the traitors' final assault, all so he could keep his miserable existence. In that conflict, the 3rd Legion's honor, Sol Tarvitz, would best him in a one-on-one duel, but regrettably the slimy bastard ran away once outmatched, returning to the fallen ranks of the Emperor's children, while his better was brought low along with the other few noble Astartes. Since then, he would become a devoted champion of Slaanesh, earning himself titles such as Soul Thief, Blade of Aeons, and his most infamous one, the Eternal, stemming from a direct blessing placed upon him by the Dark Prince herself. Slaanesh gifted Lucius with the power to latch his soul to whoever manages to kill him, and, if said killer felt any satisfaction for doing so, Lucius would then take over their body and reform his own. Essentially, a permanent life hack. Unfortunately, this blessing has kind of mutated to be even more stupid from Slaanesh's meddling. And when I say stupid, I mean it. One time, he blundered to step on a landmine and went kapoof. You would expect for that to be it, since there was no direct murderer involved. However, he reformed himself in the body of the person who had built that landmine because he had, and I kid you not, felt satisfaction that the mine itself was well made and would do its job. What? Okay, brief side tangent, but bullshit aside, that is terrifying. Just imagine this. You are some random menial on a hive city working in a munitions manufactorum. Day in and day out, life is just the usual drudgy existence all the time. Then suddenly, one Thursday, Frank from the tank shell department, who recently, finally made Employee of the Month because his shells were the most well-made, all of a sudden deforms himself into this giant grotesque turd monster with a tentacle for an arm. Panic ensues, people are screaming and running around, then the thing that used to be Frank says,
"This is a very rude reaction, besties! Oh well, if you're gonna be so ketamine, I'm gonna cook."
And proceeds to repaint the facility with everyone's insides. I would not want to be at work on such a day. With this ridiculous ability to respawn whenever the one responsible for his death feels any positive emotion towards the act of removing the stain, Lucius the Eternal has plagued the galaxy and common decency for over 10 millennia. And considering the excessive levels of degenerate heresy he gets on about, it is no surprise that many have thought whether there is a way to actually put this monster down permanently. If someone could actually kill him and not get overtaken. If it is even possible to accomplish such a task. Actually, yes. Supposedly, one rumor says, only someone who has nothing but mercy in their soul can truly end him. But in this rat's opinion, there are easier ways to do so than finding a truly merciful being in the 40k setting. Allow me to present you with the most viable theories for it. Now, the first thing that probably comes to mind as a suitable person to integrate Lucius back into the soil would be a Necron. Sadly, there has been an instance where a Necron assassin known as the Phasing Sword cut the slimy testicle down. But because a fleeting vestige of its personality from when it was alive felt an ember of cold pride from the act, the undead robot transformed into the slashed-up fleshy degenerate. The Tyranids could give it a try, since they are technically an emotionless tide of teeth, but honestly it would be best to not risk a hive fleet thinking, it was nice getting some extra nutrients during this lunch hour, and what would happen after that? No. Surprisingly enough, in my opinion, your best bet for permanently killing Lucius would be Eldar, specifically the Solitaires of the Harlequins. Discounting any direct divine intervention from Slaanesh herself, Lucius is left with just his curse to survive, and it in of itself is a warp phenomenon. That means that, technically, blanks should be immune to it, due to the warp having absolutely no effect on them. So if we're being honest, honorable mention, Jurgen can put the tentacle sucker down for good with his trusty Melta. Personally, however, if this interaction of warp curse and blankness would go as I believe, I would go with the Solitaires, who get their souls pulled out and become artificial pariahs for several reasons. Firstly, Eldar booty cheeks. You're welcome, Bradley. Secondly, the Harlequins are an elite force across the Eldar species. Given what they are made to do, namely fighting off all breeds of demons and other power-lusting beings in defense of the Black Library, their fighting prowess can be compared to that of the Custodes, and Solitaires count among the cream of their crop that even surpasses them, meaning that one of them would be more than able to actually kill Lucius in a duel. And best of all, if they are immune to his curse, they can actively make fun of him. It would be a perfect irony for one of She Who Thirsts' favorite champions to be slain forever by an Eldar, while also being turned into a clown show. Poetic and priceless. But of course, I can understand that that might not be a satisfying answer for some of you. Oh, just some nameless elves that say, "Nuh-uh, your god-given power doesn't work on me." I know. Someone like the Soul Thief deserves to get his shit kicked in spectacular fashion by someone with gravitas. That can technically be achieved fairly easily among the ranks of Chaos itself. Practically any of the big-name champions that are tethered to one of the other Chaos gods have a good chance of killing Lucius and getting away with it, since the power of Slaanesh would need to contend with that of her rival brothers. And theoretically, it wouldn't be able to just steal a soul already in the grasp of another god. However, worry not, as I'm not going to just leave you with this cop-out answer. Of course, there is one specific individual that I have in mind as a plausible solution to the problem that is the bold, treasonous spastic. Karn the Betrayer. Arguably the man with the most protection against Lucius's curse without cheating by being a blank. On one hand, you have the fact that Khorne utterly despises Slaanesh and her pansy-ass followers, so if her champion's soul even tries to come within sniffing distance of his own top dog, it would most likely be forced to fuck off. Because that type of blessing is very much so an underhanded means of fighting, something that would only piss Khorne off even more. And then, on the other, the matter that, regrettably, Karn's mind is so far gone at this point that the only thing he is capable of feeling is anger. Even if anything else could skip over the shallows of his mind, the only thing that would surface upon killing Lucius of all people would be disgust for filthing up his weapons. Last but certainly not least with this example, you have the satisfaction of someone so cocksure of themselves being viciously pounded into the dirt. It is very clear that Lucius thinks that he is him, but he fails to realize that with Sigismund and Sevatar no longer being around, Karn is the only one who is actually him. Admittedly, my supply of chopped up Erebus is running out, so I need that second episode of Cooking with Karn for a new recipe. Okay. Having the protection of another Chaos God isn't exactly a fair way of settling the matter. It is not a satisfying conclusion for a righteous follower of the God Emperor. Hence why I have saved the best theory for last. For there exists one person, one man, that Lucius should be praying to never face upon the field of battle. Garin Crow, Castellan of the Grey Knights, Brotherhood Champion of the Purifier's Order, the purest lad. You know that meme, none purer? Yeah, that is Crow after his body absorbed all those purity seals. Now, in order for it to make sense why I'm bringing him up, allow me to illuminate you about his weapon, not of choice, but of duty, the Black Blade of Antweir. A demonic sword said to either contain the essence of an incredibly powerful demon within itself, or, according to some unverified speculation, maybe even a shard of an entity that was possibly once a rival to the Great Four. Point being that it is so ancient that not even the Grey Knights have any idea how long it has been around for. Probably War in Heaven, at least? And on top of being so old, it is also incredibly powerful, able to possess the mind and body of anyone holding it, then, after acquiring such a host, being able to form an army by taking over the minds of others around it. At one point, it nearly took over an entire sector of space, making it a threat that necessitated the involvement of the entire Grey Knights chapter in order to capture it. Where in comparison, a greater demon of a chaos god usually only requires one squad of the Silver Boys to deal with, while something like a demon Primarch only warranted a company. Scariest part of all being that even after studying the thing for 1,000 years, then having it captured for centuries, Malcador's pet project have never figured out how to keep the damn thing sealed, let alone destroy it. Other than a champion of the Purifiers holding onto it being the only people who can resist its influence and keeping it contained. Alas, even these mighty warriors were not fully up to the task, as in its tenure with the Sons of Titan, Antwer has corrupted and nearly escaped several such champions. Until Garen Crow gripped its hilt. For decades now, this impossibly powerful demonic entity has tried everything it knows to break the man. Offers of power, authority, riches, freedom, lies, truths, threats, figuratively bashing itself bloody in their psychic mindscape and so on, and has never found even a scratch in the Purifier's defenses, born of utter, ultimate neutrality. No thoughts beyond maintaining his task. No emotions. Just complete, stubborn, probably autistic, unyielding indifference. The only proper inconvenience it has ever managed to cause him is that, since Crow is forced to use the blade in battle due to having to always keep it in his grasp, is being little better than a useless hunk of metal. Because the Castan ignores all of its prodding to use its power, despite its stylish look, the blade does not really function differently from a regular sword. An indestructible sword, yeah, but nowhere near as potent as the war gear of even lesser Astartes. Additionally, the blade is sometimes able to exert enough power over its own form to cause Garen's attacks and posture to shift by minuscule amounts. Quarter of an inch here, quarter of an inch there, in order to get him to slip up or make an opening for an enemy to rid the black blade of its wielder. But he always compensates for it, to his eldritch captive's eternal misery. With such a strident training regime to keep an even head, it is beyond any doubt for me that if Crow were to kill Lucius, and honestly the guy that is regularly squaring up to demons in melee while his own unpowered sword is trying to kill him, has more than likely chance to beat the brakes off of a reprobate that often madly throws himself into a fight because he thinks he's immortal, the champion of Slaaneish's soul would be permanently affixed to the hip of a walking rock, doomed to an eternity of being completely ignored. Or bullied by Antwer, who has a lot to vent about. And those are, in my mind, the three most likely ways for that particular heretic to be destroyed for good. Depriving Slaanesh of a potent champion and making great entertainment to watch at the same time. I hope this was an enjoyable exploration for you to follow along with me. If it was, please smash that like button and leave a comment with any other theories you may have about how Lucius could be made to suffer and be permanently ended. Also, be sure to subscribe for future videos and look forward to some creepy goodies coming this Spooktober. Until then, I wish you a lovely rest of the day. Do wiždene.
Yeah, thank you, Juggen.
Meowpta.